Hello back everyone and welcome to a new topic of microeconomics called elasticity, which we are going to discuss in chapter 4. In this chapter, dear students, we are going to begin with an introduction about the concept of elasticity in general. Then we are going to discuss different types of elasticity of demand, which are the price elasticity of demand, income elasticity of demand, and finally cross elasticity of demand. So let's begin our lecture by making an introduction about this concept. So far, we have explored the model of demand and supply, the direction of relationship between the demand of a certain good and the different factors affecting it. Also, we have explained the relationship between the supply of a good and the different factors affecting it. For example, we learned that there is a relationship between the price of a good and the quantity demanded of it, holding other things constant, and this relationship is an inverse relation. Here, describing this relationship as an inverse relation reflects the direction of the relationship between these two variables. As the price moves upward, the quantity demanded of the good moves downward and vice versa. On the other hand, in this chapter, we are going to discuss the magnitude of this relationship using a very important concept in economics, which is elasticity. But what elasticity actually means? In general, elasticity reflects the responsiveness of one variable to changes in another variable. Also, what this really means? For example, the elasticity of demand refers to the responsiveness of demand to changes in the factors affecting it. So, if we want to know how much the quantity demanded of a good changes as the price of the good changes, then we are measuring the price elasticity of demand. Using the same reasoning, income elasticity of demand measures how much a consumer changes his demand for a good when his income changes. While cross elasticity of demand measures how much a consumer changes his demand for a good when the price of a related good changes. So let's dig deeper in each of these measures of elasticity. Now let's begin by the price elasticity of demand. As we have just mentioned, the law of demand describes the direction of the relationship between the price of a good and the quantity demanded of it, holding other things constant. It states that as the price increases, the quantity demanded decreases. So now the price elasticity of demand measures by how much the quantity demanded falls as the price of the good rises, and vice versa. And this is exactly what we mean by the responsiveness of the quantity demanded to a change in the price of a good. So, how we measure the price elasticity of demand? It is measured as the percentage change in quantity demanded divided by the percentage change in price. To measure how much the quantity demanded changes, we calculate the percentage change in quantity demanded by subtracting the new quantity from the original quantity divided by the average of these two quantities. Likewise, to measure how much the price changes, we calculate the percentage change in price by subtracting the new price from the original price divided by the average of these two prices. Okay, to better understand how the price elasticity of demand is calculated, let's take an example. If the price of burger increased from $2 to $3, the quantity demanded falls from 120 to 100 units. Then, to calculate the price elasticity of demand, we first calculate the percentage change in the quantity demanded and the percentage change in price and then divide them. Here, we can see that $2 represents P1 and $3 is P2. Okay, we say that the price increases from 2 to 3. Then the quantity demanded decreases from 120 to 100. Then Q1 equals 120 and Q2 equals 100 units. Then we calculate the percentage change in the quantity demanded as 100 minus 120 divided by the average of 100 and 120. 120 plus 100 divided by 2. We divide this by the percentage change in the price, which is equal to 3 minus 2, the new price minus the old price, divided by the average of the two prices. 2 plus 3 divided by 2. This is equal to negative 0.45. But here we have two important notes. First, the price elasticity of demand is a unit-free measure. What do we mean by a unit-free measure? It means that the value of elasticity is a number not evaluated by a certain unit, such as kilograms, dollars, tons, and so on, because it measures percentage change in both price and quantity. The second important note is that always the price elasticity of demand will have a negative sign. This negative sign indicates the negative relationship or the inverse relationship between the quantity demanded and the price. As the price increases, the quantity demanded will decrease, and therefore always the price elasticity of demand has a negative sign. Okay, so we drop the negative sign and we do not consider this. We take the absolute value of the price elasticity of demand. Here we say that the price elasticity of demand is just 0.45, not negative 0.45. Now, let's turn to the different degrees of price elasticity of demand. We have just said that the price elasticity of demand measures the responsiveness of the quantity demanded to a change in price. And therefore, the degrees of elasticity tells us whether the quantity demanded is highly responsive, has low responsiveness, or does not respond at all to these changes in the price. In this respect, we have 5 degrees of price elasticity of demand that is spread over the range 0 to infinity. We have 2 extreme cases and 3 other common cases. Let's begin by the 2 extreme cases. First, perfectly inelastic demand. This degree of elasticity indicates that the quantity demanded does not respond at all to any change in the price, which means that no matter how much the price rises or falls, the quantity demanded remains the same as it is. This means that the price elasticity of demand equals 0. We have 0 change in quantity divided by any percentage change of price, which will be always equal to 0. Now, when this case takes place, it takes place in the case of life-saving medicines, such as cancer medicines. No matter how much the price increases or decreases, the patient must take a certain dose of the medicine. And a perfectly inelastic demand is represented by a vertical demand curve indicating that the quantity demanded remains as it is if the price increased or decreased. The second extreme case is perfectly elastic demand, which occurs when a very small change in the price leads to a very large or infinite change in the quantity demanded. It indicates that the quantity demanded is very highly responsive to changes in the price. In this case, the price elasticity of demand equals infinity. For example, if at a certain place there are 2 sellers having soft drink machines, they both sell the same kinds of soft drinks. If any of these 2 sellers tries to increase the price of the soft drink, there will be a huge response from buyers. No one will buy from him, so he will lose all his customers. In this respect, a perfectly elastic demand is represented by a horizontal demand curve parallel to the x-axis. Okay, now what about the other degrees of elasticity? There are three other cases of elasticity: inelastic demand, unit elastic demand, and elastic demand. With respect to the inelastic demand, it is a case that happens when 1% change in the price leads to less than 1% change in the quantity demanded. What does this mean? This means that the change in the quantity demanded is less than the change in the price, indicating that the quantity demanded has low responsiveness to changes in the price. In this case, the price elasticity of demand, or the value of the price elasticity of demand, is less than 1 but greater than 0, because if it is 0, it will be perfectly inelastic demand. For example, as we see in the left figure, a 25% rise in the price led to a 10% fall in the quantity demanded. In this case, the demand curve is a steep curve, and the curve gets steeper as the demand becomes highly inelastic. Okay, the unit elastic demand is a case of elasticity whereby a 1% change in the price leads to 1% change in the quantity demanded, which means that the quantity demanded changes by the same percentage as the price. In this case, the price elasticity of demand is exactly equal to 1, as we see in the middle figure. A 25% rise in the price has led to a reduction of the quantity demanded by exactly 25%. The last case is elastic demand, whereby 1% change in the price leads to more than 1% change in the quantity demanded, which means that the quantity demanded changes by a greater percentage than the change in the price. But what this actually implies, it implies that the demand is highly responsive to changes in the price, such as the case of luxury goods. As its price rises, because the consumers do not need these goods so much, they do respond greatly to the rise in the price by greatly reducing their quantities demanded. For example, as we see in the right figure, an increase in the price by 25% has caused the quantity demanded to fall by 50%. In this case, the demand curve is a flat curve, and it gets flatter as the demand becomes more elastic. And it is very important to note that there are many factors that affect the price elasticity of demand, or which makes the demand elastic, inelastic, or unit elastic, or perfectly inelastic, or whatever the degree of elasticity, as we will discuss in the next lecture. Now we have finished our lecture. Thank you for listening.